Good afternoon, friends. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us today. We have three special guests with us. Noted author Anuja Chauhan, Anupama Chopra, a well-known film critic, in conversation with the associate editor and the principal anchor NDTV, Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. This promises to be a stimulating session. Thank you so much, Anuja, Anupama, and Sonal for being there on our online platform. Before we begin the session, ladies, I would like to briefly introduce my organization, Millennium Mams. Although the topic for today is It's Not a Man's World, our mentors, Mr. Vishnu Dhanuka and Mr. Sanjay Bhavania, are men of different mettle, for they wanted to empower women through financial literacy. The journey began 28 years ago, and the proof of the pudding is more than 5,000 women who handle investments with ease. We did not sit on our laurels and honed our skills during the crisis through regular classes conducted by our mentors. Sanskar classes, Saraswati classes, Buffett Club, and the classes on the principles of investing by studying the macroeconomic situation. Also, we have hosted more than 40 speakers on our online platform, which has really helped us to take our learning to the next level. Today's session is special for one more reason. It launches Suryodaya, the literary forum of Millennium Mams, where serious book lovers will get an opportunity to hone their skills. Congratulations to Dhanuka sir and the entire team. Well, coming back to the session and our guests of honor today. Where do I begin? Anuja was into advertising before she became an author, and she quickly developed a huge fan following who said, "Ye dil mange more." Kurkure became a food for thought before "Tera hai, par mera hai, why blame us?" We had to be a little more logical. We always wanted to have Anuja on a platform and felt "Mera number kab aayega?" And finally, "Hamara number aa gaya." She has won multiple awards for her writing. Anupama Chopra, she has been a film critic for the past 26 years and has perfected the art. She has a deep understanding of the Hindi film industry, and her books on Bollywood and its stars have won critical acclaim. She is the founder and editor of the digital online entertainment platform Film Companion. Her latest book is The Front Row, Conversations on Cinema. Her first book, Sholay, The Making of a Classic, won the 2001 National Award for Best Book on Cinema. Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. She is one of the top anchors on NDTV and has won the Dr. QH Khan Excellence Award for Excellence in Journalism. She is also among the top 10 women to be awarded the Dr. Kalam Award. She is a movie buff and loves listening to songs. A feisty journalist who is full of effervescence, in conversation with Anupama Chopra and Anuja Chauhan.
Guests as well. Let me just formally say hi to Anuja and Anupama. Just make sure everybody can hear us. All okay, guys?
Yes. Hello. Very happy to be here.
Yeah. Good to have you guys. So, obviously, Rachna has talked in detail about the various influences you guys have had and the achievements you people have had in your respective fields. Anupama, I just want to begin by asking you first that, you've literally been breathing and living the movies for so many years now. And what I found really interesting was the various formats in which you've developed this, from print to television to now digital. A lot of people who might not know this, Anupama now heads one of the biggest digital film portals on YouTube. and she's gone independent, she's doing it, and a lot of people would say that this is a millennial world where when it comes to her, it's not quite so. So Anupama, can you just talk a little bit about your latest venture? Tell us what's happening on that front, and what's been going on? How are you taking all the COVID pressure and the rest of the world going crazy these days?
I'm just honestly, I'm very grateful because we all have so much to be grateful for. But for me, the fact that I am a digital journalist means that I could continue working. We didn't have a single day off. There was no sort of work lockdown for us, which was just fabulous, because that really helped to kind of keep your focus and kind of make you feel that these are the things you can control. So just stay focused on that and do the best you can here, rather than losing your mind over everything that's happening outside, which you can't control. So, Film Companion has really been a very rewarding journey for me, because I'm much older, not from the generation that grew up on a digital in a digital environment. But about 6 years ago, in fact, in July we celebrate our 6th anniversary.
Well done.
Thank you. It's very, we love cutting cakes at Film Companion, but right now we're all working remotely, so it'll have to wait. But genuinely, the idea was, I did a show called The Front Row on Star World and Star Plus, and when that contract expired, we were a production house, but I didn't know what to do next. In fact, I got my beginning in front of the camera at your home, NDTV, and I'll always be grateful to Dr. Roy and Radhika for just pushing me in front of a camera and saying, do it. I was so bad. I can't believe that they had the faith. You could see me reading the auto cue. But I just felt like, and in fact, it was my husband's idea. He said, nobody will wait. There's no appointment viewing for reviews. People want reviews to be available when they're going to see a film, and they should just be able to go online and say, well, what did Anupama say about this movie? And genuinely the thought came from there, and I knew nothing about digital. I knew nothing about being an entrepreneur, running a business. I wish I had done many things differently. We had no business plan. We had no mission statement. We had nothing. We just knew how to produce videos. And it was like, okay, let's do it. But like I learned television on the job, I really learned digital on the job. And the beauty of it is that every day is new. They say about the movie business that nobody knows anything. And I think that's so true of digital as well. Genuinely, nobody knows anything. The things you think are going to be, there's this lovely sort of fantasy of going viral. Ye viral ho jayega, wo kuch nahi hota. Like 4 log dekhte hain, kuch nahi hota. And then suddenly the thing you think was just, okay, whatever, I did it for myself, I loved it, will, gather steam and become something else. So it's been very exciting, and genuinely I'm learning every day, which is what keeps me invested in it.
Yeah, I think that's great to also be adapting through different platforms. And I'll sure take your message to Pranoy and Radhika as well. Everybody remembers their first moment, I think, in front of camera. So that's going to stay. Coming to you,
Anupama had this time where she was adapting herself through various platforms and maybe formats. You had to take yourself from an advertising sort of room, and a room where you were thinking about what to do and getting ideas, to actually writing books of your own. This must have been great creative freedom. That's one thing we understand. But how did the shift happen? Tell us more about that.
No, it's like you rightly say. I joined advertising because I wanted to write, and I left advertising because I wanted to write. So initially, like the early years were really euphoric and great fun. And, it was just so exciting that you write something and 4 days later you'd be in Bombay and you'd be shooting. And it was crazy how just the stuff you wrote, scribbled somewhere, became this massive mega production and so on. So that was quite a high. But what happens usually is that as we get more senior, they sort of kick you upstairs, and then there's not that much writing left to do. It becomes much more planning, management, hand holding,
functions that are anything but actual writing. So there's that. And also somewhere the whole thing, it started getting to me finally that it is eventually an applied art, and you will always be Yashoda Maya, you will never be the mother. It's never your child, you know, you're like, so if you want that, then you have to transition from it, is the realization I had. And actually I had that realization at a really massive shoot. We were shooting a Pepsi commercial with two Bollywood stars and 2 stars from Chennai, and it was going completely nuts. And we had some we had all these shots take before it was night, and I felt we were compromising the whole way. We were just ripping through it, and it was not what I had written. It had become something else. So I think that night I went back to the hotel, and it was like a quest for creative control, saying, no, I have to write something. And with the laptop, I think, again, like Anupama was saying, you know, this is something you can continue to do through a lockdown, through anything. It's just a laptop. You sit somewhere, you write, you control the entire process. Nobody can tell you what to do. Nobody can tell you don't fly so high, the budget is only so much, or don't fly so high, this will never get through our legal or through, you know, the censor board and stuff like that. So it was all those things, all that frustration just came out when I started writing my first book.
So you're your own director, you're your own producer, you do what you want with your book, and then it's your baby.
Yes, I can kill anybody, I can extend somebody's role, I can change everything, and, you know. And initially, like, I would change, the first book I wrote was the Zoya Factor. I would change the title of the novel every morning. I'd get up, I'd change the name and feel so powerful. Like, you know, today it's called The Goddess. Today it's called something else. Like, it had different names every day. So I think I was very giddy on the power.
No, but your book, all of your books, in fact, I've loved Bars the best, by the way. I remember my first few days in Delhi, and I literally discovered Delhi through your books, about how you describe that entire area. And so many of us felt the same thing. And we had a book club, I remember going around that time, of all our school friends who would meet together. And we did like back-to-back 3-4 books of yours. So it was really huge. We are waiting for the next one, by the way, but we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, sure, we will.
We'll talk more about that in just a bit. But coming to Anupama now, so a lot of people, Anupama, know your influence with movies because of your husband, about, you know, you've just been in the industry for so long. I did some digging and I found out that that's not the only connection you perhaps have. And since we are in this platform where there are lots of women, I think almost 200 of us now listening to all of you right now, your mother, Kamna Chandra, if I'm not wrong, she was a scriptwriter. She actually wrote dialogues, movies like Prem Rog, Chandni, etc. So is that what got you excited about movies, about the world of movies? How did this rendezvous really begin?
You know, she actually wrote the stories for Prem Rog, Chandni. She used to write a lot for Vivid Bharti. You know, she used to do Hawa Mahal mein, those plays used to come. So she used to, you know, she always describes herself as a housewife, but this writing was her passion. And I think she gave it, of course, to all 3 of us, mostly to my brother, who I think is, you know, he's just so far ahead than me as a writer that I'm like, you know, damn, he got too much of it and I got too little. But, you know, the thing for movies actually didn't so much come from her, though she was movie crazy and loved it. But it was very random. I graduated from, I did my bachelor's from St. Xavier's College in Mumbai, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was, you know, वो फिल्मों में कहते हैं ना first class first. So I was a first class first in English literature. But, you know, back in those days, I mean, I'm talking about late 80s, you either sort of went into advertising if you had done English lit, or you started to teach, and I didn't want to do either. And then very randomly somebody I knew said, oh, you know, there's a magazine called Movie Magazine, why don't you just do a little bit of film journalism just till you figure out what it is that you really want to do. And it was literally like just as much of a whim as that acha chalo aur kuch nahi hai. You know, I have to tell you the irony was that my mother was really embarrassed. Matlab, she's writing for Yash Chopra and Raj Kapoor, but when I started working for Movie Magazine, she's like, oh, film journalism, matlab, us waqt mein, it was like the bottom of the barrel. Like if you couldn't do anything else, you did film journalism, because, you know, it's impossible to imagine now, but in that time, Hindi cinema was seen as, just sort of opium for the masses. It was, especially the 80s were anyway such a bad time for Hindi cinema. Like the films had nothing to recommend in them. And but I went in genuinely just thinking, okay, I'll do this for a couple of months, and was so utterly seduced that I'm still here 30 years later.
But this is like the best job in the world, right? To go watch a movie, give your take on it, and have the world. You've been part of everybody's drawing room, Anupama, literally, on part of every family's decision making on what to do this weekend. Really, and now I hear that it's passing on. I hear your daughter writes books as well.
She does, but no, she's a one of those Angrezi snobs, no interest in Bollywood at all. She's actually, she writes fiction. So she's in college right now, studying creative writing, and of course is back now because all colleges are shut. But so the writing gene seems to be getting passed on from generation to generation.
Great. And I wanted to, since this is the platform where Millennium Mams, I'm sure Rachna's told you about that as well. This is the platform where women are trying to get independent financially and are doing everything many times with the comfort of their own homes and trying to keep up with the times and all of that. So this journey from being a journalist to now being an entrepreneur. We talk so much these days about digital media, flying to new heights, but how do you, is there some revenue model in it? How do you convert it into a more viable option? And this entire shift in the mind, I feel, from just doing a job, which is being a critic, to now running an organization of your own. Tell us about the challenges that you faced and how did that come about?
It has been very challenging because I think the beauty, and Anuja, you'll agree with me, of being a writer is that you can be alone and in front of that screen and not have to deal with people, right? And when you're running, I never like to think of myself as running anything. When you have a team, we all run it. It's a very flat organization and we're all sort of equal participants. It is very challenging, and I had no experience in it. Actually, I had a little bit of experience because just around the same time, I became director of the Mumbai Film Festival, and that also was like, I've been to film festivals for 20 years, but I had no clue what goes on behind. But again, it was that same, you suddenly are thrown into the deep end of production, of people management, of handling egos, just trying to raise funds and make a festival happen. So it's been very, but it's just the most satisfying thing to see something you build with your own hands. You see it move brick by brick and kind of take shape. And I'd never done that before. Like my whole life, I've worked with very legacy media companies. Before NDTV, I was with India Today. For like 12 years, I worked with India Today. Then after NDTV, I worked with Star. So I had no experience of sort of, and I always laugh and like to tell people that it was like, when we did the Star show, we had big budgets, and I had a trailer with Anupama Chopra on the door, and I was like, "Bas, yeah, I am a star, right?" And you go into digital, matlab one camera, one phone. It was like, we went from being Karan Johar to Anurag Kashyap in 10 days, like. But it's a great liberation. It's a great sense of responsibility. It's a great freedom. And yes, the money is very tough. It's been, but I never wanted Film Companion, and I'm not going to pretend about this. Of course, I borrowed it from my husband. So somebody said to me, "What's your business plan?" And I said, "My husband is my business plan." But we were very careful to be very, very prudent and last year we broke even and we became a profitable enterprise, which was
well done. Congratulations.
It was very exciting because I never wanted it to be either a vanity project or sort of my version of the Hermes bag, because you can do it, you do it, that was never the point. I want to build something that lasts. I want to build a great platform for film journalism, for entertainment journalism. And so it's been, so we our money comes from YouTube, it comes from branded shows, it comes from all sorts of collaborations that we do. And it's going to be rough. It's, we had just become profitable. Like literally by December last year, we were profitable, and we're going to start bleeding again soon because we didn't have the opportunity to save enough for now. But we'll get to,
But in lockdown and during the Corona time, people are consuming online content even more.
Absolutely. Yeah, but Sonal, the brands have totally dried up. There's no money in the market. So we are hustling twice as hard to stay in the same place. But that's fine. I don't complain ever about the work. I'm so grateful to have it.
Great. Just hold on to that thought. I want to bring in Anuja as well on her challenges of first getting away from advertising for creative freedom, then getting into movies. And how is that experience like? I believe Zoya Factor is not the only one. And all of your other books also have been signed up for several different adaptations.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's, I'm just listening to Anupama, and there's like, I think it's the same story for everybody. Like, you work for a big corporation. Like, I used to work at J. Walter Thompson, and they took care of everything. I had to do nothing. I didn't even file my returns. I had the haziest ideas about anything at all. And suddenly when that's taken away from you, so you have all this creative freedom, but suddenly like you're in charge of everything, so that part of it was quite frightening for me, just the whole thing, and understanding, educating yourself like what you girls do with with chartered accountants and with legal representation and royalties and dealing with publishers. And I'm sitting very outside it, for me. So it's like Bollywood and all, it just seemed like seems so shark infested, the whole space, and just managing that is very difficult. So initially, I think the first 2 contracts I signed for the Zoya Factor and Battle for Bitora, my first 2 books, I was very clueless, and it was very hard. So therefore, I didn't have any control eventually on who had the rights and for how long, and no creative control at all.
You didn't have another Yashoda Maya moment when the book was being taken away for the movie?
That I was like Moses ki ma. I put the child in a basket and looking down the river. I was like, where is that child doing? So gone. But after that, I think by the 3rd book, I quite smartened up. And then by then I realized, okay, I need to have, firstly, I need to get the money that I think is a decent amount. I need to put like a time lock on, you can have the rights which is for so many years. I need a good legal advisor. So I got all that stuff together, which is why my 3rd contract for Pricey Tattoo Girls, I was able to sell it twice, and it got made once, then the rights reverted, and now it's being made again by Hotstar. So things like that, so even the Buzz contract is tighter than the one I had for the other. I have more creative control. Buzz is with Yash Raj. But yes.
You have more details on what's happening with that?
I don't think anything is happening. They had to make and release a movie, make and commercially release a movie for which they had 3 more years. So I'm not sure what's happening with that. So, and nowadays, like, you don't even feel like asking because everybody is just going through such a hard time. So I just sit quietly. But yes.
Anuja, I have lots of questions on the chat room about people asking about your wall art. What is that behind you? I have like some 5 people who've written about this.
Oh, that's so sweet. No, okay. So I can quickly tell you. So I read this Agatha Christie a long time ago, in which there is a vital clue about a wallpaper, which is poppies and cornflowers. And I thought that was such a pretty idea. And I couldn't find anything like that. So I painted this myself.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And there's apparently something to do with the blue door that we keep seeing hints on your Instagram about the door which has been painted.
Blue doors. I think that's just like some Haryanvi or Rajasthani heritage. So I have blue doors everywhere. So yes, thank you. I love blue doors.
Great. I know Anupama has to leave, but I can't let you go, Anupama, without since we are on this platform talking about women and the role women have played in your life so far, and where do you see this going? I mean, I'm basically asking you to define feminism very in this way, but just to help everybody understand at this point, and I have a very interesting article by Anuja. If I just want to read that out for everyone, and then I want to get both of yours opinion on it. So Anuja, everybody knows, has this very wacky way of writing about everything. So she wrote in the recent article and she says, everybody likes girls. They are decorative, diffident, eager to please. But nobody likes women, especially women in their 50s. Because they're clear-eyed, witty, wise, they have perspective, they know their worth. They're not afraid to occupy their rightful amount of space in either a boardroom or a bedroom. They laugh loudly, they speak up fearlessly. They have a built-in bullshit dictator and they can smell hypocrisy a mile off. They refuse to indulge in girl-on-girl hate and they're not afraid to call a spade a spade. I mean, stuff like that, Anuja, when women like us read it, I can tell you I have an extra vertebra, you know. That's how all of us feel. So, Anupama, your thoughts on the way ahead, on the world that is coming around? It's been a huge movement, in fact. And the past few years have been such a big movement on feminism. And it's not just seen in movies that we are seeing, it's seen all around us. What are your thoughts on what's happening?
You know, it's genuinely very exciting, and I can only speak about my world because you know, the film industry and the movies is pretty much my world. I genuinely, I've lived so long with just blinkers on, and I know very little about how anything else functions. You know, somebody had told me that I don't know if this is true, but you know, Aditya Chopra never ever goes out. He never goes to parties. He doesn't go anywhere. He said he can't handle mingling with civilians, which is basically people who are not from the film world. So, I'm not at all that bad. I love people, but you know, I know very little about anything outside of cinema, so I can only speak to that. But honestly, it's been amazing. I'll tell you truthfully, I have never in my career had any kind of notions in my head that I didn't get this or I got this because I'm a woman or I'm not a woman. It just never occurred to me that I'm a woman and therefore some things may not happen. And genuinely, I think that's also because I chose to do film journalism, which at that time, you know, culture, film was all a very female thing. I'm sure if I'd wanted to do politics or business, I would have hit a wall somewhere, you know. But I didn't. And at that time when I wanted desperately to do film at India Today, genuinely me and Madhu Jain were the only ones who were interested in film. Nobody else cared, you know, so it wasn't hard. But what was amazing to me was over the 25 years to see how the industry changed, you know. I've been on film sets where I have such a distinct memory of interviewing Madhuri Dixit for a cover story of India Today. And it was literally me, her mom, and her hairdresser. And everybody else on that set was a man. And you're talking about 150 people. And that was normal. That was normal. Nobody questioned this. That was what it was, you know. I think that's why women went to sets with their moms, because it just felt so weird, you know. And I remember very clearly the first time I saw female ADs was on Mansoor Khan's film, the one Josh with Aishwarya and Shah Rukh, you know. And I looked around and there were these women and they had, you know, they were with walkie-talkies and I was like, wow, Mansoor, you've got so many women here. And he said, yeah, they're more efficient. So, you know, from there to come now where there's women at every level. And of course, it's very far from an equal playing field. It's not at all an equal playing field. But the fact that you have women who, you know, who are leading studios, or DOPs who are women, or so many amazing directors who are women. And, you know, it's not just Zoya Factor. It's, you can count 10 women, including the lyricist Anvita Dutt, who just made her directorial debut. You know, it's very exciting. It's still a very unequal business because again, this, guys, is going to be interesting because now we have no box office. The inequality was driven a lot because of the inequality in the box office. You know, when Amir Khan opens at 50 crores, when Hrithik Roshan opens at 52 crores, and the only female-led film that you make a big noise about, like whatever, Veere the Wedding maybe opens at 9 or 10 or 11, you know, that's a big gap. And so you can't justify bigger budgets. But when there's no box office, I hope this doesn't last because I love theaters more than anything else. But I'm hoping that at some level, the rise of streaming will create a more equitable world. You know, when everything's not about Friday figures kya thi, collection kya tha. So it's been very exciting for me to watch the Hindi film industry evolve, to watch it change, to watch it go through, this whole sort of, we haven't come of age yet. It's still a while, but the more women you have in front of the camera, behind the camera, the more textures will change. The more people will just become aware that there's a different way of looking at things. Now so many people have said that they're not going to do item songs anymore because they've understood, and we've all grown. I mean, I didn't know, 15 years ago that, this might be stalking behavior. This might be a very objectifying way to look at a woman. I didn't. I genuinely didn't. We didn't. I haven't done film studies. I never learned those things, and so we're all learning and becoming more aware. And sometimes I feel like we're a bit too woke and everything is cause for outrage. but still, I think it's very exciting. I think we have great actors, we have great directors, we have wonderful writers. Anuja, please keep creating more. I feel like we've come a long way. We have a long way to go, but I think we'll only go ahead now. I think women in positions of power, which is mostly the directors and the actors, especially the actors, are not willing now to settle for less. And they're no longer polite about, Sridevi had a lot of power, Madhuri Dixit had a lot of power, but at that point the equation was so skewed, and the politics was so entrenched that you didn't speak out, but Anushka told me that when you go to a location, the hero gets the bigger hotel room. Why? That's amazing. I was like, wow, someone's talking about this stuff. So I'm the eternal optimist. I hope we get better and better.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is that, at least the conversation is happening now, and that is perhaps going to lead the way. We have now finally a female-led 100 crore movie, and you think once that changes, that is also going to bring in. And then COVID being an equalizer, who knows? I mean, we all hope to return back to the box office, but if this, we could all get used to it. I think as time is passing by, I can't say this for myself, but you're all getting used to the fact that you can just enjoy a big movie in the comforts of your home as well. Well, that's great to hear. Thank you so much, Anupama, for joining us.
Thank you.
But before I go, Sonal, can I ask Anuja one question?
Yes, please, go ahead.
I really want to be a better writer, Anuja. Do you have any sort of discipline tips on how you can face that blank screen and just not give up and just keep going?
Okay. You just have to write. I mean, you're a journalist written for years. What can I even say?
Come on, Anuja.
I think the better writer you are, the harder it is for you to write, because you judge yourself too harshly. You're a film critic. You'll be critiquing what you're writing. So when you'll be writing, then you'll be critiquing. So you'll have to, please, I'm sure you're very hard on yourself. Just put that aside and just write without judgment for a while. I think that.
How many words a day do you end up writing, Anuja? Roughly.
When I'm in the thick of it, like when it's really hard. For this book, my newest book, which has just gone to the publishers, I've written like 4,000 words a day, but that was like a super heat.
Wow.
But usually I aspire to write 1,000 words a day when I'm into it. When I figure out where I'm going and I have a basic plot, then I hit 1,000 words a day. So
that's amazing. What do you do with your phone, Anuja?
I just leave it somewhere and I check it every 6 hours.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good interval. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take that home with me. Thank you. Listen, ladies, thank you so much and Rachna,
thank you, Anupama.
I have an interview that I can't move, otherwise I would have hung out longer. But generally, it's so amazing what you all are doing. Really, it's just keep going.
Thank you, Anupama. And Bollywood style, I can say, "Tusi na jao." But we respect your commitment.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there, and thank you once again. And I would like to say to all my members that if you want to feel the pulse of Bollywood, the doctor is Anupama Chopra. Thank you for being there.
I wish. Thank you, guys. Bye, Anuja. Bye, Sonal. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great talking. Thanks. So Anuja, you were talking about your latest book. Tell us more about that.
So that is the working. It's slightly different from what I've written before, and it's a format that I've always wanted to try, and I finally tried it. So it's a whodunit. It's a murder mystery set in I think Calcutta. It would probably be like a Dollygunge club or something. So it's a murder mystery set in a very posh club in New Delhi, in Lutyens, Delhi. It's called Club U to and that's it. So that's what I've been writing. It is, like I said, of course it has all the stuff I think people like in what I write. So I have humor, I have romance, I have social commentary, and I also have a murder mystery.
Nice. I like the social commentary bit. I think that's going to be exciting. Is there a female protagonist in all of this?
Of course there is. Yeah. So I have a lovely new couple I'm very excited about. I have Kashi Dogra and I have Bambi Todi. That's a romance.
I've always seen in all your novels about women coming into pretty much their own, They at times also have a bit of twisted sort of moral positioning, and it's okay to be that. There are shades of gray, and it's so relatable in so many ways. And then we also have very sort of hot wanted men, which is everybody's delight. But you at times, I've often wondered, get sick of the fact that I actually wished I'd asked Anupama also this thing about how women are positioned in the society. Like or women who are at the top as a writer or as a critic or as a journalist are always sort of boxed into a particular category. Or she writes just chick flicks. Oh, this one does very happy-go-lucky. Oh, she has it easy because she's married to the movies. Oh, all these stars, the Friends, etc. Oh, she had it so easy. How do you deal with comments like these, and what gets you going still?
I think that I just think that labels suck, and that any kind of label or any kind of prejudging is it just makes your life experience poorer. So if you label a certain person a certain way or a certain sort of literature a certain way, then you're not going to make discoveries. If you say, "Nay, I don't read chick lit," well, then you're the loser. You've lost out on some amazing reading. Or you say, "I won't talk to her. I won't bother to see her review because, she's, like you said, married to the movies." Then you're the person who's losing out because this is a lady who does amazing reviews. So I don't like to do that. Like, for example, I'm not very hot on books that win the Booker Prize. Very often I don't like them, but I don't hold it against them. I try them in any case. I don't say, "Oh, it won the book, I won't bother reading it." I will give it a try, and if I don't like it, I'll read it. But it may be a great book as well as win a Booker, right? So I'm saying that we do this. We say, I won't read ghost stories, or I won't read crime fiction and stuff like that. So I think you're walking around with blinkers on. Why should you have blinkers on? Or even like saying something like, "I won't talk to him, he's a bhakt." Arey yaar, maybe he's a nice person besides being a bhakt. How can you say that? Or, it's just silly. So I try not to do that.
Talking about
richer life.
No, go ahead. You always have.
No, I'm saying you always have a richer life. I try to talk to people who are either much older than me or much younger than me, and from a different background from mine, because I always feel you learn so much more that way, rather than, what we tend to do is we veer towards people like us. And I think that's why you lose out.
Yeah, and talking about, you recently did a political campaign, right? The tagline for the 2019 elections as well. How was that at a time when writers and creative people in the country are getting, or perhaps talking about how this is not the time to express, or perhaps they can't say as much anymore? How are you taking it all?
No, the thing is that, yeah, how can you, eventually, I just think you might as well say what you feel and rally behind what you think. Even if it's a losing fight, you rally behind it because you believe in it. And for that campaign, they called me in really late, and it was so cool. And I had I called Nikhil Advani, and he immediately said, "Yeah, I'll do it. Let's shoot." There was a lot of people who did not want to touch that campaign. There is that kind of stuff, but he was like, "No, man, let's go, let's shoot." And literally,
I'm just going to stop you for a minute, because I see a lot of women over here who've joined up who don't know. Anuja was the one behind writing the campaign for the Congress party. It said something like, "Ab milega nyay, ab hoga nyay," right?
The campaign for the Nyay campaign. we did start on it really late because I think they took a while figuring out what the positioning was and so on. So it was very last minute, and they said, look, like, let's just do this. So it happened like that, but we ran around like crazy, and it was for me, I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to do this.
I was almost expecting a political thriller next, considering
I wrote Battle
the
for
recent
That's not a
experiences.
novel.
Okay. I have lots of questions. I just want to take up a few that are coming on the chat box right now. There is one which a lot of people are writing about hitting a writer's block. What do you do and how do you combat it?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, writer's block really sucks. What you do is, I had something so wise to say about this, which I've only. um, what I find is that you should just take a break from it. Just leave it for a while. Just leave it for a while. It's tough to do. And don't lose anything that you wrote during your writer's block. Like, just keep it in like one folder. You may come back 3 months later and be very forgiving about what you wrote. And you may say, oh, wow, there's something good here. So don't ever delete forever. Just keep your stuff in a folder. And there's nothing wrong with letting it rest. We, in the lockdown, everyone's making banana bread, and now we all know how yeast works. You have to let it rest. You put in the yeast, you leave it overnight, you'll have something tomorrow. If not tomorrow, you'll have something day after. So, and don't strain too hard. In advertising, I used to tell all my bachas, I used to say, itna zor mat lagao, itna zor lagaoge to bas potty niklega. Don't try too hard. Don't do it.
Okay. On that, okay, people are also asking about, they loved that paragraph that you wrote about, that I read out about on women that you wrote. Tell us more about your ideas on feminism.
No, I think, maybe I've been a little uncharitable to younger girls there, saying that, young women, everyone likes young girls, and older women are all this. And now I find younger and younger girls are reaching that age, And of course, like people.
30s are the new 50s, I'll say so.
Mind-wise, right? So that whole bullshit detector and that just calling us, just saying it out. I think maybe menopause, perimenopause are very liberating stage in your life, because suddenly you're like, you don't give a damn. I love it. My mom used to say this. She said, I love being an old woman. I can be so obnoxious and everyone has to suck it up. So I think the route to feminism is to become old young. Like you said, 30s are the new 50s. Aspire to that mind space. Talk to more older ladies. I find that even in feminism, it's very interesting. If you see, the new wave of feminists is always dissing the older ones. Right now, J.K. Rowling is going through so much stuff. And Germaine Greer, all like Pastor was saying, they don't know what they're talking about. But you should listen to them, because they have reached a point where they don't bother about being politically correct. They don't bother about being woke and pleasing everybody. And I think that's a great learning that all girls should get at an earlier and earlier age, that they don't have to be nice. They don't have to finesse their statements. They can just go out and say it as bluntly as anybody, as
Yeah.
like a man would.
And we've noticed a great involvement in perhaps a lot of women also in your books. They have these very, very strong personalities. You mentioned in a lot of your interviews earlier, and I've read somewhere, a lot of influence came from your own family about your house in Meerut. Women in your life who've influenced you, and you have a daughter as well?
Yes, I have 2 daughters and a son. But yeah, I do come from a strongly matrilineal kind of family tree. So I'm the youngest of 4 sisters, and my mom was the second youngest of 5 sisters. And when I find that when there are no men around you, like even if you study in a boarding school, which is a girls' boarding school or a girls' college, usually a co-ed system, what happens is that the boys do the clowning around and the girls laugh from the sidelines. And the boys are the jocks and the girls cheer from the sidelines. When it's an all-girls system, the girls are the jocks and the girls are the clowns and the girls are the leaders, right?
That's true.
Amazing about Miranda House, where I went to college, because we had this president called Sunidhi Bajwa, and she was this total star. And that was it. So you got these role models, right? And so I think that's it. That's because my childhood was like that. And my aunts and my grandmother were very assertive ladies because of that. I just somehow got that.
Lovely. Another question that's come up is, how do you select the names of these characters who pop up in your books? And what do you suggest to girls in their 20s struggling with their lives and careers? That's a broad one, but
The characters, I really think about names for characters. I think I must be like trolling Hindu family names, baby names for your girl and boy, Indian names, all those websites that usually mothers typically go on and look for names, for
do
their
you
son.
eavesdrop on your daughter's conversations with their friends and find out, oh, what's in vogue? What is this Gen
Eavesdrop.
millennials doing and all of that?
Yeah. So luckily my children are very talkative and they talk a lot. And in fact, my children sometimes sulk because they say that we don't tell you something, but our friends only tell you. So like I said, I mean, I'm a shameless eavesdropper. I eavesdrop at airports, anywhere. I like nothing more than sitting down, locking eye contact and trying to get a person's whole life out. So that's like my chief source.
You would have loved Calcutta. You would have loved doing this session there, sitting down in a club and talking to people.
Advertising is like Calcutta because everybody is Bengali. There's just so many, like all my best friends are Bengali actually. I'm not saying that Calcutta is only Bengali, but I do get some of a little sense of that because of my besties.
Oh, great. Okay, last questions. I'm just picking up from the board. Oh, okay. Are you happy with your adaptations in the movie considering how Zoya Factor went on the box office?
No, it's nothing to do with the box office, but I do feel that, I mean, like, I don't think that would change the way I would feel about something that I wrote. I mean, if I was happy with it, I wouldn't really care if it, worked or didn't work.
But you were part of the movie, right? You were part of the screenplay and you worked on it.
Well, I don't know. Again, like if you go back to what I started this session with about how things just slip out of your creative control and you don't, which is why you write books, where you can control everything. So I think that is like the nature of the beast. There's nothing I can do about it. And honestly, I can't think of any favorite book that I have read whose movie adaptation I'm happy with, So I have to think.
That's a fair one, yeah.
So it's just like, not as good as the book. So I would always say, please read the book. Read my book, then you get an idea of what my vision was.
Okay, couple of rapid fire questions coming your way. Your favorite book and author?
Oh, I have so many, but I can give you like a few. So out of the Indian writers, I love, like my all-time favorite is Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. Yes. As far as the romances go, I love Meg Cabot, especially Princess Diaries, which had a really crappy movie, by the way. So I love that. And I love Eva Botson and Georgette Heyer, like these very old school romance writers. For satire and humor and stuff like that, slightly black stuff, I love Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. And so these all go-to books that I read again and again. And for absurd books, I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And, I think that's a fair representation.
Okay, great. That is pretty much the time that we have today. Thank you so much, Anuja. This is real fun.
Sonal, before we sign off, I have few quick questions for you, Sonal. The session can't end without you answering our questions.
Okay, then. This is out of...
And Anuja, you can join me if you have any question for Sonal. Right? So she has to answer very shortly, like, these are very short questions, and you have to answer it very, very briefly. You don't have to expand nothing. All right. So my first question, yes, absolutely. So my first question is, Sonal, journalists are good at firefighting. So were you always great at it?
No, I don't know if journalists are great at firefighting or they're great in creating fire. I have always had this dilemma. I think that they're the ones causing all the misery, and I have this conversation with myself time and again. But for me, I've always considered myself a fixer. In my life, in my work, etc., if there's a problem, I'll go and solve it. I'll go and fix it. So for me, work is also like that. If there's a story which is not happening, I'll go and make it happen. If there's an interview not happening, I'll go and make it happen. And the story, we're not being able to get something, we'll find a way around it. I think that's a very UP wala in me. I always say Kanpur girls are like that. But the rest of the journalists, very notorious lot. Stay very beware of them.
Okay, Sonal, I understand totally. So Sonal, next question is, and it's a very relevant question, I would say. How do you manage a smile on your face given so many uncertainties. One, like, there must be some secret behind it that you're always smiling. What is that secret?
Well, I have no idea. I don't know. I think,
You have to think about it.
yeah, no, I am trying to think of an intelligent answer apart from saying that I don't know. Yeah, ask my mom. I don't know what she feeds me, but I don't know. I think I just enjoy doing what I do. I love,
Wow.
like, I
Yes.
don't know. I think Anuja will understand this. People who love just making conversations, just hearing stories. And I've always considered myself also a storyteller. I mean, what is a journalist job at the end of the day? We are like postman, right? I go to somebody, I pick up their story, I take that story, I make it comfortable, and perhaps in a way, I put it in a way that people at large can understand it. And maybe there is a food for thought at the end of it. That's my job, right? Basically, I'm a postman. So as long as I'm enjoying those people, my job is great. I get to interview from chief ministers to murderers to rapists to girls who have climbed the Everest to others who got caught up into the web of trafficking. So I meet amazing people in the course of my job, and I love that. I feel everybody has so many insights, and it all makes me, I feel I have the coolest job.
So the secret is that you should love what you do, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yes, absolutely. Bang on. And this one is for Anuja, and then I'll hand it over to Meghna to give a vote of thanks, my vice president. Anuja, what is the difference between a great author and a good one?
Okay, for me, I would put it down simply. And I'm speaking as a reader, not as a writer.
Yes, as a reader, yes.
I think the acid test is rereadability.
Okay.
Like a book that you returned, you read again and again and again and again. So there's that whole one-time read, you read it, you chuck it. But, you have authors that you go back to, that you keep in your loo, that next to your bed, that when you go on journeys, you take that same old book which you've read a million times. So I feel so for me, the biggest compliment is if someone says, I reread your books, I've read it many times. And as a reader, that is my biggest compliment to anyone, that I just love this person. Like Catch 22, I've read it, I don't know how many times. Wow. So that for me is the difference.
That's so
I read
nice.
Thakur Girls twice.
Oh, thank you.
That's so nice, and thank you.
Oh, sorry, about packing it, but I wanted to ask Sonal a little more about this whole Kanpur angle.
Yeah, please.
What do you think of like girls from the small towns versus girls from the big cities?
I don't know. I now live in Delhi, so it's kind of put myself in a spot by saying this. But I don't know. I think girls from small towns, they're very, they have the capacity to take a lot more. I feel girls from small town know their way around. They're very street smart. They're also, they have huge patience and also vigor to take on things and challenges. I mean, girls in my school, I was in a co-ed in Kanpur at that time. But I remember once having an argument with the boy and giving it right back, and it was okay. We were called up and stuff, but it was okay that, you stood up for yourself and it was fine. In Delhi, I feel, or in bigger towns, I feel, I don't know if it's got to do with upbringing or just the circle around that everything's, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do this. Compared to in a small town where you were told, oh, figure it out. Like, you have to. Also, I think how you grew up in the 90s when I grew in Kanpur, in UP, there was this, we touched upon this topic of how the world has changed. Conversations in this country have changed post December 16th. I feel very strongly. For the first time, words like rape and were actually used in drawing rooms. We couldn't talk about it, right? I mean, in my household, I have a big, joint family, and everybody sits together for meals, and everybody has an opinion on everything. Kaun sa ladka se shaadi karogi, kaun se school jaogi, kaun se kya karogi. Everybody sits down together and decides all these things, but we would never talk about issues like these, about marital rape, about anything of that sort. But we sort of managed to bring it to the forefront. And back in the 90s, it was very ordinary for us to go out on the road with the friends and with just girls walking down in proper clothes and have boys stare at us. But it never deterred us. It never deterred us. And we took it like, fine, they will, but for how long? We'll still make our way. That was always the spirit. In Delhi, I see if girls are stepping out and maybe they have their own reasons, but they feel, oh, I'll avoid this route and go. We would find a smart way to ensure, acha, ye tha, let's, we'll teach him a lesson. The 4 of us will go here today, or we'll pull a prank on him, or we'll do something. So there was this thing about taking on, which I feel is a bit escapist route that you feel in bigger towns. I don't know. I might have kids and they might grow up in Delhi. I don't know. It's a very tough thing to say, but yeah, the world is changing. You never know, yeah. All every day, everywhere. Sorry?
Take them to the joint family home for summer vacation.
Yeah, it's great fun for kids. I can't say the same for mothers, so I don't know how I'll be.
Just send them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sonal. Thank you for being there and making the session so interesting,
Yeah, I had so much fun. It's so good to hear from all of you. I'm sorry if I've not been able to take some questions. I still see some rolling away, but maybe you guys can write to us and we can, reply back on email.
Absolutely. And thank you, Anuja. Thank you so much for being there. And I would say it was a treat for all of us. And it was a great session with so many takeaways. And we look forward to having you once again, when things are normal and not online session, but offline. Yeah, we really look forward to it. Meghna, I would request you to please come in and extend the vote of thanks. Meghna?
I think you need to unmute her.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Rachna. Yeah. Wow. This was such an invigorating session, and it truly was a perfect launch of our literary forum, Suryodaya. Thank you, Anuja, for giving us such great insights into the literary world. Write without judgment. That's a great tip for our aspiring writers in our organization. And we all loved hearing about your Yashoda Maya and Moses Mom's moments that you shared with us. It was an absolute treat to hear you today.
Thank you.
Anupama gave us wonderful glimpses into the exciting world of movies, and her journey from film journalism to her entrepreneurial journey was very inspiring. Thank you, Sonal, for conducting the session so beautifully. You really added so much flavor and meaning to the whole session. Thank you to both our mentors, Mr. Dhanuka and Mr. Bhuvania, for always guiding us. And last but not the least, thank you to all the members and guests who have participated so enthusiastically today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Sonal. Bye, Anuja.
Congratulations.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.